So, good morning. This is for people who didn't do much of any cooking at the house. So their mom didn't. They didn't learn most of the basics. Instead of doing like filet mignon or all this crazy stuff, we're just gonna do basic seasoning for really basic things. Chicken tenders, maybe some chicken parmesan. And today we're gonna make really simple biscuits. Biscuits are really easy because even after you get the core ingredients down, you can add seasonings or bacon bits or cheese or basically anything and make cheesy biscuits, bacon biscuits, seasoned biscuits, whatever. It's really simple to start off with. So, first things first, my mixing bowls suck and they have no bottom. So they're going to wiggle around a lot. If you get a mixing bowl like this, and you're going to mix things in it, it'll move around like that on the counter and make it really hard to actually mix things properly. So I put mine in a bowl. That way it has a little more stability. And you're going to want to preheat your oven to about 375. Always checking to make sure there's not anything in it so that you don't accidentally cook a pan of grease that you fry with. Because a lot of people put their grease in the oven after they're done frying with it instead of fixing a new pot every single time. Where's my sugar? Alright, one thing I love about biscuits so much, self-rising flour, shortening, milk, and you're done. That's your biscuit. That's it. You can add this stuff later if you feel like making a really nice bowl, or a nice batch of biscuits, but that's your biscuit mix. I'm going to set this over here so it's not like really weird lighting. There we go. Now, biscuits, unless you get online and use somebody else's recipe, that usually they add a couple other things like salt, or they use all-purpose flour or something like that. But if you're making your own biscuits, you're not going to use a recipe, then it takes a couple of times to get the consistency right. Because if you make it too liquidy, then they don't come out right. If you don't make them liquidy enough and they're just super dry, then again they come out hard and don't come out right. But sometimes it can be difficult to get the consistency right, and I've still been playing with mine because it's really hard to try to remember the exact consistency for me. But that's one of those things you're just going to have to troubleshoot, because some people might like their biscuits a little harder if they want to use it for like gravy or something that'll soak it up, or they might want some that are super light and fluffy and airy if they're just going to put like syrup on them and eat them like that, or smother them in butter and just eat them all by themselves. So the consistency is something you're going to have to play with and figure out. But we don't have that many people. Let's do this. Get you a scoop of flour. It doesn't matter what size, because again, you're going to be playing with the consistencies as long as you eyeball it out enough for everybody in the family or whatever to have enough. And biscuit mix ends up going a pretty good ways. So by the end, that much flour in a bowl that size I just used half a cup. Probably made 6-8 biscuits. And since there's only 3 of us here, then that works out fine. Next up, before you add anything else to the flour, any milk or any seasoning, you're going to do vegetable, or not vegetable, you're going to do shortening. Now, I don't know about the liquid shortening because I've never used it, but I always use the kind of weird lard shortening. So what my mom used, this is what I grew up with. It's what I use. And it's got a really weird consistency to itself. And you're going to scoop you out about a dab like that, more if you need more biscuits, because you're going to have more flour, obviously. And what you're going to do with this, I'm going to bring this back over here. Yeah, I probably should have done that earlier. That helps a lot. Is that, you know, I think I'm going to need some more shortening. Is that wasn't quite right. I'll move this for just a second and put y'all back in a minute. Okay. With these, some people cut the shortening in with butter knives, and you just take the butter knives and you cut it across like that, so that you're cutting the shortening in, so it just does like that, essentially. But I always just mash it in. You're just gonna mash it into the flour. Butter? Why did I almost say butter? Well, y'all can tell what's on my mind. I can't wait. But we're gonna mash it into the flour like that, and it'll make the flour kind of crumbly. If your flour still looks too much like normal flour and it doesn't have a lot of the crumbles in it, you might want to add some more shortening. If it's like too crumbly and it just doesn't look like anything like flour anymore, then you've got way too much shortening and you'll want to add some more flour and do it some more. Okay. You see, it's still got some crumbles in it. You'll be able to kind of feel the difference too when you start making these. Alright. After that is when we're going to add the milk. Now, a key to biscuits to try to keep it going fluffy and real light and airy is that when you start mixing the milk in, and even when you start mixing the shortening in a little bit, but mostly when you start mixing the milk in, you want to play with the dough as little as possible. Mix it in and put it on the pan and leave it alone. If you mix with it and play with it and try to get just right and add a little and then add a little and take a little bit, add a little flour and add a little milk, trying to get it just right, and you're still stirring it all up and you're playing with the big old dough ball, it's going to make them hard. That goes with like baking cakes too. You know, if you're only mixing cake and got it on the beater for 5 minutes or so, and that's about how long it takes for it to all mix up, it's fine. But you don't want to sit there and mix it for like 15-20 minutes trying to make sure that everything is mixed up. It messes with the consistency somehow. It'll make it hard afterwards. And biscuits is a big thing. If you play with it too much, they go hard. So me, I don't have a really good big pan yet, so I use a oven pan. Yay. And actually I'm just going to be lazy and use this spray. But if you don't have the non-stick cooking spray, beautiful angle there, that blew off. Then, you can use some of the shortening to degrease your pan, and just put a little bit in some of this things. It doesn't take much. It's like cooking spray. You don't want to use much at all. Little dabs like that in each one of them. And then just take you a paper towel if you don't feel like getting your hand super gunky, and smear it all up in there. And if one's still got a clump on the side or something, you see that one's got some noticeable clumps, go ahead and try to get those up so that they drill it just straight up quick into the side of the biscuit, and just kind of try to even out the shortening. Oh my goodness, what is that cat done this time? And there we go, it's degreased. Okay, I'm not going to use the cooking spray, I'm just going to use shortening. Alright, whoa. Just kind of eyeball it. Like I said, on this, all you're doing is playing with the consistencies a little bit until you find what you like. So just kind of eyeball your milk. This didn't make as many biscuits as I was hoping for. Normally I ends up doing a little bit more. But it doesn't take much per biscuit. Unless you want some great big giant fat things. And then just add more flour or bigger dollops in a piece. But that's about how long it takes for it to mix. And afterwards, you want something that looks about like that. It's kind of thick and looks rough and kind of gritty because of the clumps of flour and shortening. And take a dollop, throw it in the pan. I use a spoon at this point because it's a lot easier to pull it out of the pan and stuff. My mom was like anti-spoon when it came to biscuits. You did everything by hand. But it's a lot easier to do this way. There we go. See? And that one's a little lacking, so I'm just going to add an extra dollop there. And I think what I'm just going to do is separate these a little bit that's left into these others and make them a little bigger. Just like that. And you're just going to put them in the pan. Boop. And you're done with your biscuits. I totally missed that whole scenario apparently, me actually putting them in, but you get the gist. I'm sure you can pick up a spoonful of biscuit mix and put it on the pan. Self-rising. If you use all-purpose, all that means is that it doesn't rise all on its own. And if you use all-purpose, then this is essentially what you'll get, and they might even flatten a little, but it won't fluff up and it'll be hard. All-purpose, you have to add a little bit of salt and baking soda, I think. Oh, I don't remember exact ratios, and I don't remember if you necessarily need salt. but you can turn all-purpose into self-rising flour just by adding a couple ingredients that'll make it rise. Self-rising just automatically has those ingredients in it already and it's super easy to use. So if you have nothing but all-purpose and you want to make it self-rising, then you'll have to look up the actual ratios of what to add to get it to become self-rising, or just rise, because it won't be self-rising. So when the oven eventually goes off, because it takes like 30 minutes for our oven to preheat, then I'll put these in for about, start off at 15 minutes or so. Sometimes it needs a little longer, sometimes they're a little burnt at 15. It just depends on how big the biscuits are, and these will probably take about 20 minutes, but I'm going to check them at 15. And you're just looking for golden brown. Don't look completely raw, like just straight up white or black. Basically anything in between this color and like absolute burnt black is okay. Just find a golden somewhere in between there. And an Easter egg to this one is my sugar is missing. Where is my sugar? My sugar is gone. It's supposed to be right up there with the flowers, and it's gone. Oh, no, and somebody just put it in the wrong spot. Wasn't that sweet at all?